So far, I have about 35 hours of Fallout 76 gameplay under my belt. Even with that, it's impossible to do a fair review of a game like Fallout 76, or open world games in general where most of the content is buried in underground bunkers and found at far-flung locations across the map. No, it would take hundreds of hours to understand the game well enough to give it a fair and thorough review. So this isn't a review of Fallout 76, but it is an overview of my thoughts having played it for about 35 hours. Fallout 76 is a beautiful game that looks a lot like Fallout 4. It's a multiplayer game that you can easily play solo. And even though they've changed some of the game mechanics, choosing perks, specializing your character, the game remains familiar enough that those who have played and enjoyed Fallout 4 and even some of the other Fallout games should feel right at home. Fallout 76 is not Fallout 5. It was never intended to be the sequel to Fallout 4. Instead, it was designed to answer one question. What would a multiplayer version of Fallout 4 look like? And I believe that Fallout 76 fulfills that vision well. But even though it was designed to be a multiplayer game, multiplayer which I'll talk about in a bit, thankfully the game still plays well as a solo experience, giving fans of the Fallout franchise many of the things that caused them to fall in love with it to begin with. For those who absolutely hate multiplayer, just can't stand seeing other people running around in their game, for those who are expecting Fallout 5 with hundreds of voiced NPCs, companions, and cutscenes, then Fallout 76 will be disappointing. It's not that. But it's also not Fallout Shelter. It is beautiful, it does have lore, and anyone who enjoyed the gunplay and weapon modularization of Fallout 4 will love what they find in Fallout 76. Now, all of you know that I focus on Fallout lore with this channel, so the story was really important to me. That's why, when I was broadcasting Bethesda's E3 announcement of Fallout 76 all those months ago, when I heard that it was going to be multiplayer only...
Because yes, Fallout 76 is entirely online.
I had a lot of processing to do. I didn't exactly know what we were going to expect. And so from the very beginning, I was on the fence. I wanted to maintain an open mind without becoming instantly critical, having never played the game. I was encouraged when I heard Todd Howard describe Fallout 76 as a multiplayer game that you could play solo.
First, of course you can play this solo. You'll be who you want, exploring a huge world, doing quests, experiencing a story, and leveling up. We love those things about our games too. It would not have it any other way.
That means that the game was designed both to be a multiplayer game and a game that you could play solo. It means that playing with other people is not the only way to play this game. It means that if you choose to play Fallout 76 as a solo player, you're not playing it incorrectly. You're playing the game as it was designed. I wanted to test this idea that you could play Fallout 76 solo during the beta, and so every hour that I had access to the beta, I played it by myself. I didn't group with a single person. I turned off area chat as soon as I left the vault. And it's not because I'm a hermit, it's not because I don't like other people. In fact, I fully expect to group with other people later in my gameplay, but it's because I wanted to absorb the feel of this world first before I went gallivanting off with other people or got distracted by the mundane parts of a multiplayer game. Organizing a group, meeting people at a location, waiting for them to appear, exchanging goods, sharing perk cards, giving directions, all those things that go into the multiplayer experience. I didn't want to be distracted by that. And so for 35 hours, I played Fallout 76 alone with only my live stream chat as company. And to be fair, you guys were highly entertaining and helped me avoid things I would have missed, like the keys to those cells and the floor safe in that abandoned bunker. Glad you guys were there. I found that playing Fallout 76 alone was very similar to playing Fallout 4 alone. It honestly wasn't any harder for me to level my character. I ended the beta at level 22, 23, something like that. There were other players higher than me, but I did pretty good. I was able to kill Deathclaws, Hermit Crabs, Yao Guai, and a variety of other cryptids. Now, I don't play a lot of other modern mainstream games. I really only play Fallout, so I don't have a lot to compare it to, but in my view, the game is beautiful. It's just as beautiful as Fallout 4, at least, if not more so. There were multiple moments when I had to stop and just take in the beauty around me. There are biomes that are so different from each other, and each of them are beautiful or startling in their own way, whether it's a dark bog lit only by small rays of sunlight that pierce through a tree canopy, or the ruins of a town that look charred, where we hear the echoes of gunfire bouncing off of the ruined buildings, or a hilltop overlooking a forested valley with trees as far as the eye can see. This game is not by any stretch of the imagination ugly. One question I get a lot in the comments of my 76 videos is whether or not I think that the game felt empty. And the reason I get that question a lot is because there's this idea that Fallout 76 has no NPCs. And that's actually not true. There are quite a few NPCs in the game, many of which do talk and can give you quests, including a wandering super mutant trader with his own lovingly named Brahmin pet, and a variety of quest-giving robots, each of which have their own personalities and humorous dialogue.
Repton's Mayor here.
You are a winner of the Great Appalachian Sweepstakes!
Is that you, kid?
Just eat 6 hot dogs real fast as I check them out for you.
I heard it were calibrating the time again. Mode, attract. Procedure, say, greetings, customer. So many pumpkins to carve. So little time.
So there are NPCs. The real question is, do I think the game feels empty with no human NPCs? There are no other human NPCs in the game. All the humans we find, even the raiders, are dead. This is explained to us in the lore of the game. As we complete the primary quest, the pieces of the puzzle come together. We learn exactly why the responders are dead, why the settlers and civilians are all dead, why the raiders, who were responsible for killing many of those settlers, are also slumped over in their raider thrones, dead. This choice definitely gives Fallout 76 a unique feel, but it doesn't make me feel lonely or like I'm exploring an empty world. I think that would mischaracterize the way the game makes you feel, because we're constantly surrounded by fellow Vault Dwellers. Within the lore of the game, every other real player we meet is a fellow Vault 76 Vault Dweller just like us. Indeed, the dead people all around us were waiting for the door to Vault 76 to open so that we could help them with their struggles. Sadly, they just died before that door opened. But once it opens, we can step out into the wilds of West Virginia and still pick a faction, and still fight for that faction. Even when I'm playing solo, seeing other players running around helps me feel like the world is not dead, that I'm not the only one exploring. Also, having voiced NPCs in the other Fallout games didn't make me feel like it was more alive.
So many humans, not many super mutants.
All this walking's wearing me out.
So much walking. Want to do more fighting?
Most folks are just looking for a hand. All we gotta do is offer.
Play your cards right, and we stand to make a whole lot of money.
If anything, it made me feel like those worlds were more artificial. When you completely exhaust an NPC's voice dialogue and that NPC is left with only his standard greeting and farewell, then that's all we get from that character over and over again for the rest of our game. That's not really realistic. Bethesda is still trying to tell a full, complete, rich story with Fallout 76, but not having any human quest-giving living NPCs in the game means that they have to tell that story in other ways. And so the story is told to us in the form of robot quest givers, computer AIs, and handwritten notes, holotape recordings, and lots of terminal entries. A lot of this environmental storytelling is some of my favorite storytelling that Bethesda does. Yes, I will miss my voiced companions and their companion quests. Yes, I will miss the cast of colorful characters in every single faction. But my favorite stories in the Fallout games are the stories that don't have human quest-giving NPCs, like the story of the Survivalist from Fallout New Vegas. It's one of the most moving, heart-wrenching, touching, and inspiring stories in the entire Fallout franchise, and we never meet him. His story is told in terminal entries. Then there are the Keller family holotapes from Fallout 3, another example of environmental storytelling where we go from location to location trying to hunt down the Keller family, hoping that they found each other, that they'll be okay, until we learn the startling truth. And in Fallout 4, the story of what really went on in the FEV lab, what the Institute had really been doing for hundreds of years, and the truth behind how super mutants were introduced to the Commonwealth was all told with holotapes and terminals inside the Institute. And so I've really been enjoying the environmental storytelling of Fallout 76 so far. I've already published a few lore videos on some of the secrets we've uncovered, but there are so many more that I just haven't had time to produce yet because this game is chock full of lore, almost to an overwhelming extent, which is why describing the game as a dead game just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Not only is there enough lore in Vault 76 itself to make a 40-minute video, which I did, but as soon as we leave the vault, we go to Flatwoods, where we are just showered in so much lore that we don't even know what to do with it. And this, I think, is one negative aspect to not having any human quest-giving NPCs. When you can't tell your story through those NPCs, all that's left is the terminals and the notes and the holotapes. And so what do? Well, you add more terminals, notes, and holotapes to the game, and this is what we find. When we go to Flatwoods, if you go to the church, if you sit down and read every terminal and listen to every holotape, you're there for over 30 minutes. I was a little frustrated when I first got to Flatwoods because in addition to trying to introduce you to the primary plot of the game, they're also trying to teach you how to play the game.
Find water and strain out any big particles and chunks. Then, boil it in a pot over an open fire for a minute or two, then let it cool.
So we get two types of content thrust upon us at Flatwoods. We get the story and the tutorial. The tutorial is not thrilling, but it's intertwined with the story, so to get the story we have to go through the tutorial, which leads to sitting there listening to a 5-minute holotape about the benefit to boiling water instead of drinking it straight from the river. Okay, yes, we get it. The water is diseased. We gotta boil it. It doesn't need a 5-minute holotape. And then when we get to the Morgantown airport, when we finally fight our way to the top of the airport and we find the responder whom we're there to track down, we've got 2 or 3 holotapes sitting there that we have to listen to. Then there's a terminal we have to sift through with dozens of different entries. Then we find a closet with a corpse inside with yet another holotape. We're in there for another 10-15 minutes just standing there listening to holotapes and reading terminal entries. And I think that is really the only negative consequence we get for not having any human NPCs. That said, as I continued the primary quest, things became a little bit more balanced. When we got to the AVR medical facility, there was plenty of lore there, but I didn't feel like it was all just dumped in our lap. We kind of discovered it as we went along. The same when we got to Sugar Grove. It felt spread out more, better delivered to the player. Now, I've been a Fallout fan ever since Fallout 3 back in 2008 when I first started playing it. But it was the gunplay and modular weapons system of Fallout 4 that roped me into the Fallout universe. The way weapons work, how they sound, how they feel is really important to my personal enjoyment of the game. And so I'm really glad that the gunplay of Fallout 76 feels so natural. The sounds sound realistic. The way weapons are held feels comfortable, in much the same way they did for me in Fallout 4. So in addition to the lore, which I'm really enjoying, I'm having just as much fun scrapping weapons to get new mods to go back to my workshop and upgrade my favorite rifle. Discovering new weapons that didn't exist in Fallout 4, like the black powder weapons or the crossbow. But this is a Bethesda game, and there are bugs. Lots of bugs, and they're frustrating bugs. Do bear in mind that everything you're seeing in this video was captured during the beta. This is all beta footage. But there were plenty of bugs, from enemies not being responsive and strangely standing there while I'm attacking them and not doing what you would think they would do to defend themselves, to weird mesh and texture artifacts when you kill a Scorched and the head floats in the air and the body falls to the ground. Or you'll find a wall seam that doesn't sit flush, revealing the void beyond. The most frustrating one for me is a bug that was in Fallout 4, and that was the power armor frame bug. Sometimes, if you don't enter the frame from the right angle, your character's camera can get stuck. Now, in Fallout 4, this was easy to get past. You just open the console, toggle clipping, and you clip right through whatever was in your way, and then turn clipping back on and you're good to go. But in Fallout 76, it's an online game. There is no console, so you're stuck. During my first live stream of the beta, I had to exit the game. And when I came back, the power armor frame I was trying to get into was gone. This was heartbreaking for me. It was my first power armor frame, and so I was bummed. But then it happened again, much later in the game. By this time, I had 2 power armor frames. Now in Fallout 76, you can pick up your entire power armor suit and carry it on your inventory. But when I tried to put 2 frames in my inventory, they stacked. And so then when I tried to deploy one, only 1 frame deployed, and the other one was missing from my inventory. At first, I thought I had overwritten it somehow, but upon looting my frame back into my inventory, it still said 2 power armor frames. Someone from the chat said, well, try dropping one instead of deploying it, and so that's what I did. I dropped the frame, and that released it from the stack. So I was able to deploy my other frame, but then I tried to walk into the frame that I dropped, and I again froze. It was horrible. So I had to exit the game, and when I returned, alas, the power armor frame was gone, and the T60 pieces of power armor I placed on the frame had vanished. So yeah, there are bugs, but I was thinking about this, and Fallout 76 is going to be the first Fallout game that will be perpetually patched. Fallout 4 continued to get patches for quite some time, but then they stopped, and we no longer got improvements and bug fixes. That's not going to be the same for Fallout 76. As an online multiplayer game, Bethesda will be supporting it for the foreseeable future, as long as people are still buying it and playing it. And so I reckon this means the game will continually be patched and bugs will be stomped out. I don't know if the game will ever be bug-free, but it's possible that 76 may be the most bug-free Fallout game, because it's multiplayer. Now, as for the multiplayer aspect of the game, I really can't in good conscience talk about it, because I avoided it. But I will talk about how it affected my solo gaming experience, and share some of the multiplayer things that happened while I was playing the beta. I'm happy to say that griefing wasn't that big of an issue for me. I never had to stop reading a terminal because I was being attacked, or had a holotape interrupted while I was trying to listen to it. Maybe I just got lucky. There was one time when I saw a wanted character on my map. As you know, a player can become wanted by murdering another player, by killing them when that player didn't engage back in PvP combat. The chat wanted me to go kill him, so I fast traveled to Flattenwoods, Woods, hunted him down. And that was that. When he came back, I waved. He didn't seem to be bitter, and I went on my merry way. My second multiplayer altercation happened at the Temple of the Winding Path. I had already been here, but I was helping other players complete an event. There were about 3 other guys there. One of them just started firing at me. I thought it might have been a mistake. I've accidentally fired at other players as well, but he wouldn't stop. He just kept firing at me. Wouldn't leave me alone. And he was lower level than me too, so I have no idea what he was thinking. So I just pulled out my weapon, turned around. When you kill someone in PvP, they can come back to seek revenge. It's easier for them to find you on the map. And sure enough, while I was exploring the temple, he came back and tried to kill me. But again, because he was ill-prepared, it wasn't hard to defend myself. Now, in both of these situations, they were lower level than me. I have read other stories of people being griefed, but in situations where you have a group of 4 and they're 10 levels higher than you, I can't imagine that spoiling your gameplay. But in over 35 hours of playing the beta, nothing like that ever happened to me. So to sum up my thoughts on the game, I like it. I think it's beautiful, it plays like a Fallout game, and it has an abundance of lore. Wonderful environmental storytelling that is genuinely interesting. Yes, there's a holotape all about the benefits of purifying dirty water, but not every holotape is about purifying dirty water. Most of the lore I'm getting from the game is thought-provoking, answers one of my larger questions about the Fallout universe, adds color to a topic making it more interesting, or raises new questions about the Fallout universe that I'm eager to have answered. If you love Fallout lore and you enjoyed the way Fallout 4 looked, felt, and played, then you'll really enjoy Fallout 76. And those are my thoughts on Fallout 76 after playing for 35 hours. But you know what? We've got many more hours of Fallout 76 gameplay ahead of us. With Fallout 76 dropping soon, I will be doing weekly live streams of the game here on my YouTube channel, and you're welcome to join me. We'll pick up right where we left off on the last day of the beta and continue to open every box, read every note, and lift up every rock. If you don't want to miss a lore episode or a live stream, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I have a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. My designs come on other products as well, like stickers, smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new videos.